All right, welcome one and all to the Box Art Battle season finale, folks. And we're joined by the prestigious PeteDorr. How's it going?
Hello, thank you for having me back for the finale. It was a ton of fun doing it the first time, and I think what I'm looking forward to the most is trying to just distance myself from the games like last time. Like I would have never imagined like a Cabela's game or Splatoon game making it as far as it did last time. So it's going to be exciting to see what other boxes you guys have had won over the years here for the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of fun having, because if you haven't watched the previous episodes, it's actually going to be fun because you get to judge our taste in box arts now. Like see who's up there with among some of the best. So
So, I mean, if you're new to the channel, Box Art Battles is a series where we pit video game box arts against each other in a tournament bracket style, and we don't base any decisions on the games themselves, only on the box art. And we've done 8 episodes so far. In the beginning, we didn't have like a full vision of what we're going to do, but we kind of figured out, all right, what if we break it into seasons? So that we see the first 8 episodes, each one has a unique guest. Then we have one of those guests with us for the finale of sorts, where we have all the winners of those 8 episodes together. And then for the next season, whenever we do that, it's a clean slate. Any guests are up for grabs, and move on from there. I thought it would be fun, and it'll be a smaller bracket than what we're used to, but should be able to dive deeper into these and see if we made any questionable decisions as winners of box art battles. I mean, we'll see how the seeding goes, because theoretically, it's completely randomized bracket. My brother puts them together pretty much randomly. He just grabs random box arts. He's not really like choosing the best of the best. So you could theoretically have one that is won against like some of the worst competition, and then one that's won against some of the best competition, and like just hopefully we get some good matchups here, and it'll be fun to revisit. All right.
we just got to blame your brother if the seating is incorrect.
Yeah. But as always, thank you and shout out to the man, the legend, PeteDorr, who, if it weren't for PeteDorr, we wouldn't have met. We wouldn't have.
It's true, actually.
We wouldn't be here if it weren't for him, because we met on the Pete's Game Room forum back in like 2011. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So long ago. Yeah. Shout outs to any forum users that are still listening. Those were super fun times, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a Discord server
Mhm.
that we're keeping things alive sort of with. It's called, what's it called? RNG, Rascals and Gents.
Yes.
It's based on Andy's old Gentleman's Challenge sort of thing. We run the Gents Challenge we still do that.
Crazy that you guys still keep that going. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we do, like, it's on rotation. Every couple months we'll do another Gents Challenge, and yeah, we still, a lot of the people on our Discord are remnants of the forum, so it's pretty wild. I actually forgot to mention last time I had this thing hanging on the wall. It's a little piece of paper. Hold on, let me show this camera first, if you can see it. It's a little note from PeteDorr, from PAX East 2011. I had my brother, because I wasn't able to go, I had my brother go, you got to get PeteDorr to sign something. He had a tiny notebook. So he got a little note that says, thanks for watching and keep up your passion and love for video games, PeteDorr. And I still have this scrap of paper
That's
stuck
awesome.
to my wall all these years later. So, but here
I
we
kind
are.
of do remember that. Like I have very vague memories, from that long ago, but I do remember writing that. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's great.
And here we are.
All I know is Pete signed the manual inside of Darkspire, my DS copy of that game. So, just like, yeah.
A good one. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good game. Good
Yeah.
pick.
I got that for so cheap too. I was like, it was like a freaking steal, hidden gem, steal.
Might actually be my favorite DS game after all these years.
Wow. All right. Well, let's say we get into the first matchup, right?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's click in and see what we got. Oh, look who it is. It's Splatoon 2 versus Shrek's Carnival Craze Party Games. Oh, man.
That's a. There we go. Starting it off.
Well, there's our winner from the box art battles we did with PeteDorr right here. And the winner of the illustrious Shrek edition of box art battles.
we did with Rusty.
I'm trying to like go through my mind and think about all the other Shrek boxes I've seen over the years.
There's a lot of bad ones.
I guess that one isn't too bad. I mean, it features a lot of the main characters. I'm not a Shrek aficionado, but I know
you
like
came
enough
to the right.
about Shrek to know who these characters are.
You came to the right place. We went through all the Shrek films and did a review of all of them. Yeah, and then it culminated in this.
So
all the games.
I think what stood out of this one is it was more dynamic than some of the other Shrek box art battles. Like you actually have some personality to it in the poses. I remember it was rivaled by some of the more simple box arts, like Shrek 2, the original Shrek on like GameCube and Xbox. But this one ultimately came out on top.
Well, I mean, one of the things that it does quite well is it keeps your eye moving. So like you got to look at Shrek how he's kind of like reaching out with his arm. It kind of makes your eye go from, you know, maybe the left side of the box and down into Donkey, and then it goes up through Shrek's arm, and maybe then from there you kind of look at Puss in Boots or whatever. But it definitely keeps your eye moving and not focused on one spot.
Yeah.
You have two very dynamic box arts here for sure.
I mean,
lots of movement.
So, I mean, Splatoon 2 is obviously the colors stand out. We said it before. The colors are very distinct. They pop off the box art. They really come together well, and it's composed well. Like, every part of the box art seems to be put together with some purpose.
Yeah, I'm still a fan of the colors on the Splatoon box. Like I mentioned the first time around, like I'm not really too much of a fan of Splatoon anymore these days, but there's no denying that box. If you're like walking through a store and you're looking at a lineup of Switch games on the wall, like that is going to grab your attention.
Yeah, I mean Splatoon 2 is I think it speaks volumes for how well that game sold. And it just looks like that just screams like, oh, this is a fun game that my kids will enjoy, things like that, like a mom on the shelf. I guess probably they would think the same thing with Shrek's Carnival Craze party games. Be like, oh, little Jimmy, he loves Shrek. And it does I think that does a decent job of selling the Shrek IP. I mean, yeah, like you have all the characters, it's dynamic.
I'd be really curious to know what the sales numbers were for Shrek Carnival Craze. Because the Wii, I mean, that was a console where the sales of games almost were dependent entirely on the box covers. You know, you had very casual families and grandmas, moms, dads picking up games for their kids or for their families themselves, and they would just straight up judge a game based on the cover in the back of the box. And Shrek, I feel like, is a pretty eye-catching box for anybody that's in the Shrek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
especially because it's showing you what you're going to be doing.
It's pretty straightforward.
It's a Wii game with Waggle.
Yeah, you'll be.
It's like you got Shrek characters. You're gonna be playing some carnival games. It's gonna get crazy, including ring toss with a snake, and Puss in Boots got the hammer. You know, Puss in Boots does stand out. Like it's like a weird, like peering over the shoulder. Like, hey, what do you guys got going on back here?
He's sort of creeping.
He's like, little do you know, I'm getting my own game soon. I wonder if he got his own game before or after this one. Which is apparently a pretty decent game. I've never played it, but it always looked alright.
I bought it because of those box art battles, and I still have yet to play it. But there's
the Puss in Boots game on the Wii. Yeah, because I think that was a high contender for. It might have been in the final with it against this. It might have been, but they're close to it anyway. I don't remember.
So the one thing about the Shrek box that I'm not super feeling is, despite it being multi-layered, you know, you got the wooden poles in the front. But then it just feels like there's not enough distance. It just feels really compact.
Not enough depth,
even though it's trying to do the layers, it's trying to do depth, but it feels very one-dimensional. Whereas if you look at Splatoon, it does like something similar with the character in front and middle and then the stadium behind, but you can actually feel the depth with a little bit of they do a little bit of haze on the stadium in the background. You could just feel it a little bit more, whereas Shrek just feels really compact, and I feel like they could have handled it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's almost a little flat, I guess, because it's a flat angle. So it does kind of make if they'd done maybe like a little more dynamic angle, it would have given more depth to it. And
Yeah, totally. I was thinking the same thing as you were saying that it's like Splatoon 2 has a certain polish to it, whereas the Shrek 1, it's like I could very realistically see a Photoshop file where it's just these, let's take this character, put it here, this character right here, and it would make sense with not much more added to it.
Yeah, because like Fiona's just like, I don't know, she's just cheering. She's just cheering her man on. I guess that's woohoo.
Hmm.
You know, she's not doing anything. She could have had like a, I don't know, what's a carnival? What's a carnival thing?
Like
The
a
hammer or something, maybe.
Yeah, she'd have a hammer too. She'd be dueling Puss in Boots with hammers.
if they wanted to go full on,
Oh, I didn't even realize you had it.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go full on supportive girlfriend, you could have her like holding a giant teddy bear or something, you know. Like,
Oh yeah.
how about one of those? How about one of those? Why we have regular balloons on this, by the way? Because in Shrek, you could have the little balloons they made literally out of a frog. Remember, if you
Yeah.
remember from a classic Shrek scene where he blows up a
Yeah.
frog into a balloon. I can see that.
From the first one, yeah. Well.
And they
Nope,
made like a balloon animal out of something too, so they could have had a little
Crocodile?
more
Wasn't there,
fun
like,
with
a
that.
Or snake. Wasn't there a snake they made like a balloon animal out of?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
we
They
got
didn't do
rings
that.
here.
I'm definitely leaning towards Splatoon for this one.
Yeah, I think I am as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's hard not to.
it's kind of hard not to. It's just very
It's
polished.
outclassed.
I mean, it's like
Shrek is
it
outclassed here.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
like
if Shrek was battling a bunch of Wii covers exclusively, then maybe it would be able to put up a fight.
yeah, it's true. I again give it up to like Switchbox, like composition, because they always, I don't know, they've really mastered that, like using all the space very well.
Yeah, and it's a lot more narrow than other boxes, so they actually have to work with even less room than normal.
Oh yeah. All right, so locking it in. Splatoon 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Splatoon 2.
All right. Then let's move on to round 2. All right, so we've got Red Dead Redemption versus Dragon Age Origins. All right.
Okay.
These are both solid in my mind. I really like both of these.
A lot of the reds here too.
So I don't know if we're allowed to count it, but what the heck is the follow-up to Dragon Age Origins? Because the sequel, the box art, they actually connect together, so they actually had the foresight
Oh, yeah.
to design this Dragon Age Origins box to fit with the sequel.
Yeah, it was like Dragon Age. Oh, I can't remember the.
I'm not a
subtitle
Dragon
of it.
Age person, so I can't bring it up. People are probably going crazy listening to this right now.
Yeah, I'm not really either. My brother was a very big fan of this one because that second one was like I think it was like an expansion basically, or like DLC, but you could also buy a separate box for it. And then he liked the second one and sort of fell off of the third one, but
I mean,
yeah, I never played them.
I dabbled in this one. I always have to play it more. But yeah, I mean, the Dragon Age box art immediately stands out because it does things that a lot of other box arts don't do, and especially using like the PC where you're pretty unlimited. There's no like border interfering with it, like the Xbox 360 logo and stuff like that. Like so they're free to just have a white background and then have the red dragon with the art bleeding off the side.
Mm.
Red Dead Redemption kind of plays it a bit safe, like it's a good box art, but it feels very like, it's not like they can really go wrong with having the main character kind of just looking at you on the front of the box.
It's true. It's very like this era of game. Like this is like what 2009 or something, 2008, 2009, even 2010. I don't remember, but like that, like featuring main character doing thing, pointing gun or whatever was always sort of like it was kind of a staple for games at the time. But I do really like the sort of chase kind of going on in the background. I think that was something that we talked about a lot. Just sort of like the sort of ancillary elements or the side elements to it really kind of enhance it more than just that.
One thing I'd critique it on is there's a lot of red in the background, and there's nothing in. I don't even remember his name, right? Like I'm not like a super
John
big Red
Marston.
Dead. Yeah. So one of the things is there's nothing in his character that brings the red from the back into the character himself. So maybe there should have been like more red highlights. I'm not saying they're going to put blood on the cover, even though it is a rated M game, but like there needed to be something in his character design that can kind of take some of the elements from the background and bring it into his character, since he sort of like just splits it right down the middle, kind of
Yeah,
starkly.
I could see that.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a good point. I was almost going to suggest blood, but yeah, I don't know if you can. I don't know how easily if that you can get away with that, or so to say, on a cover. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you can get away with that. I think they
Can
were
you?
just like let's make the presents red and we'll call it a day. Rockstar Games
Yeah.
presents. But I actually really liked the red in the. I didn't even think about the fact that the game is called Red Dead Redemption this whole time. So I was gonna say
Yeah.
the red in the Red Dead Redemption box art has always stood out to me just from purely seeing the box art on the shelf.
So something to look at Dragon Age with is, what does that cover tell you really about the game? Whereas if you look at Red Dead Redemption, like I feel like I have a really good feeling about how Red Dead will play almost just based on the cover. Whereas Dragon Age plays it a little tame, I guess. I mean, it's pretty basic in terms of, okay, there's some random mage girl
Yeah.
who, I'm gonna be honest, just doesn't seem to fit the rest of the art style on that box with the sort of like Dark Souls, Demon Souls looking knight guy. She looks a little out of place. She looks kind of like she belongs from like an anime almost. And then he's just kind of chilling on the cover. I don't know. There's something about Dragon Age cover that I have never really been the biggest fan of.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I personally, I think it really works personally. I mean, she is, I guess, now looking at it, she is like, it's probably, it's honestly, it is like the art design of her looks very like, it's very stylized, where everything else is like very sort of realism. You've got dragons, there's like blood stains and stuff, and yeah, it's like clearly a battle scene. And I guess she's like there to add kind of like a magic, the mystic element to it. You know, she's got the sort of orb.
Feels a little random to me though, because she's just kind of a floating torso in the background.
She's just watching over the battle.
Yeah. She's just kind of hanging out back there. There's always been something. It's really interesting that it's one of the finalists here, because there's always been something about this cover that I don't know. I was never like the biggest fan of it. It feels a little like lopsided in a way. Like most of the art kind of hangs off to the right hand side.
Yeah, that's true.
Was that us with Ryan? Was that who was on that episode? I think. I'm trying to remember.
That sounds right.
Blame Ryan. Blame Ryan.
No, I mean, we both really like this box art too.
Yeah, we did a lot.
I like.
I can't even remember what it was against, but
I mean, because we have two different things going on here. Red Dead Redemption it's strong, but it's also simple. Like it was probably put together in less time than Dragon Age Origins was. But Dragon Age Origins has a more artistic approach. With the composition of it all, like within the dragon itself, the white, almost like the absence of color combined with the red. It's always made it stand out to me, at least. But I always had that feeling as well that it is kind of lopsided. But I don't entirely mind it.
I mean, when I think of Dragon Age Origins, or at least I would imagine when most people think of it, they think of a big, grand, epic RPG with multiple party members, and I don't really get that sense from the cover of Dragon Age.
Yeah, I definitely get like there's definitely like fantasy. I get medieval fantasy from it.
Yeah, it does just touch on the medieval fantasy and kind of leaves it at that. That's true.
But it also is, it's really masked and hidden in a way. A lot of people, if you were to look at this box art from a distance, you would actually probably only see the dragon silhouette. You wouldn't even notice this other stuff in the box art unless you're like doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Hyper analyzing, yeah.
One thing that I actually really like about the Dragon Age box, though, that I'm noticing is that the EA logo is like one of those blood seals, like the wax stamp on an envelope.
Yeah, that is actually really cool. EA, during this time, EA was doing, because there's another box art that I was just looking at, it was on my shelf that had like EA was doing like interesting things with their logo at this time, but
I mean, yeah,
it was like right around it.
this is much better than some of the EA ones we've seen, like the freaking EA
Yeah.
Sports ones, where it'll be like smack dab in the middle.
In the middle of yeah.
Well, just think about other BioWare games, right? Like think about
Mass Effect or
Mass Effect or KOTOR. Like think of
Yeah.
those covers and how dynamic they were with all the characters on the cover. I mean,
Mhm.
you remember those covers. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't not saying you don't remember Dragon Age, but
Yeah.
just compare what they've done in the past to what they're doing here, and I don't know, it feels a lot less epic.
I was gonna say, to me, actually, when I think of Dragon Age Origins, I think of this box art. I'm like the opposite. Like, this one's the most memorable to me out of the BioWare ones. Like Mass Effect, like the box art doesn't stand out to me right now. Just thinking about it, like I know the more iconic, like Mass Effect 2, I can think of it,
Mass
but
Effect 2
I'm
is
not
very
like, ooh,
iconic,
I
yeah.
love the box art. I think of Dragon Age Origins, it's like a bold box art. Like,
Yeah, it's easy to remember because it's so simple with just the two color tones. So like in your mind, it's a lot easier to visualize.
Mm.
Which in a way maybe does earn it some points because you kind of you do remember this box art because there's not a lot of boxes out there that use such a stark contrast between white and red.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Alec, what do you think? Which one are you leaning towards out of these two?
Boy, I don't know. Because I feel like I have a little bit of Red Dead bias because my dad, who's like what 71 or something, has been like he talks about a few games. He talks about Halo, he talks about Red Dead Redemption, and more recently he's gotten into Switch gaming, so he's talking about Zelda and stuff like that. But just so proud of him. But like this game was always stood out to me because it's Red Dead's box art has always stood out to me because it's always like I've always found how well it sells the sort of cowboy fantasy, just from like just a striking, simple image. Then you have the stuff in the background. You get the idea. You do get a really simple idea of what the game's about. The American flag sort of has that sort of like sort of. So you do get like maybe there's like a deterioration of the American dream. That's maybe reading a little into it, but it is like end of the cowboy era. The Old West is dead essentially, and that sort of selling that, I think, in the box art a little bit.
It's interesting that you bring that up too because I don't know all the lore and the story of Red Dead, but just the fact that you see a game that is very obviously based on cowboys, but then you see the main character on the cover without a cowboy hat, like one of the typical iconic symbols of the West and cowboys. The fact that he doesn't have that on and he has a very smug look on his face, like this cover is already telling you that this is not going to be what you're expecting from your typical Western action game.
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, I think I'm leaning towards Dragon Age Origins, and I think the reason why is it's just very simple. The two color tones, and maybe it is a little bit of like I'm not even a huge Game of Thrones person, but to me this simple dragon style designs of like a lot of the seals and stuff from Game of Thrones that I've just seen through osmosis, really. Like a lot of those really sell the like fantasy aspect of stuff like that. Whenever I see a dragon, that's selling me a fantasy immediately. And I think to me, all of the little details in it like really just make it work. It's the wings flying out, the blood spatterings, and then of course you get the added bonus of having the sort of medieval fantasy stuff being sold in the art. I think I agree. I actually do almost wish that like the woman wasn't in there. I almost wonder what this art would also look like without anything in there. If it was just the dragon, I almost wonder if that would.
I think if it was just the dragon, I think I'd actually like it even more.
Yeah,
just like a shaded, bloody dragon.
Okay.
So
maybe a little too simple though.
Yeah, maybe too simple
for me.
I'm just very torn. Because I think these are both really great. These are like right around the same time too, like the same time these games came out. So, I don't know, Zach. What are you thinking?
Well, I think
I'll throw it on you.
I think I'll go ahead and I will lock in Dragon Age Origins for my vote.
Okay.
I really just think it does something a little more special than Red Dead Redemption does, and this is kind of a conversation we have a lot of, like the simple versus the more abstract. But I mean, Dragon Age Origins is simple in a different way, but it seems like a more. I can just feel more heart in the box art and how it was crafted. I feel like, yeah. The thing about this mage character is interesting because I don't know anything about Dragon Age characters. Like, was there a much cooler, like more iconic character we could add in the mix there that would have sold the box art more? I don't know. But
yeah, maybe she is iconic. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. So
yeah.
But
so lock that vote in. All right.
Okay.
Pete, where do you fall?
So I was kind of like going back and forth, but I think I'm actually gonna lock it in for Red Dead Redemption because the type font of the logo of the game itself is just really good in my opinion. And I think that kind of sets it off for me because it not only does the type font kind of just like really grab your attention, but it also has a very similar look to the shading on John. Like he sort of has like this cell shaded kind of look to him that just fits really well with the logo.
Okay.
Oh, you just made it harder. Okay. Yeah, because that was actually something I forgot to even mention. Because the type font of Red Dead is just like it's super iconic. I think.
Yeah, it's something we take for granted. It's just been in the video game zeitgeist so long. It's like that's Red Dead Redemption, so you don't even think to analyze it sometimes.
I do like the knives kind of in Dragon Age Origin. Like there's like a dagger in the D. That's kind of cool.
Dagger in the D. That's the only time that's cool.
Hey, speaking of D, I do see D behind Pete right there. There's D's hanging out back there.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh. Man, I think.
Oh. Listen to your heart.
I think I'm locking in with Red Dead. I think I'm locking in with Red Dead. Yeah, I think to me it was I was leaning Dragon Age, but I think the type font being there, I think that's just sent it over the edge for me, personally. So.
Okay. Very well then. Red Dead Redemption was on.
That might be. I don't know. That might be the toughest one right there. That was really hard.
All right, let's go ahead to the third round of the quarterfinals.
Okay.
Here we are. It's Lego Harry Potter years 5 through 7 and Dying Light. Good night and good luck.
I don't remember that subtitle at all.
We talked about that so much. We're like, why is there good night? Good luck there.
And this was with Pestro, I believe, right? I think Pestro was with Dying Light.
Pestro was Dying Light. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And then Lauren was Lego Harry Potter.
Yeah, Lego Harry Potter years 5 through 7, conquering every other Harry Potter game. I completely forgot that this one.
I forgot about that too. Which is funny. I think Goblet of Fire was in there for a while. Anyway.
So, for me, Dying Light is just an incredibly artistic, complex, dynamic cover. There's just so much going on there with how they play with like the idea of the light dying in so many different ways on this cover.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you can tell that it's like just straight up hand drawn, just really, really sets it apart from not just Harry Potter, but from a lot of game covers in general. I feel.
I think one of the things that we commented on a lot, and I'm going to say it again here, I love the bodies falling like there with like the hands reaching up and how there's like the little bodies in there too. It's like, that's so good because it almost looks like they're just hands mixed in with everything. Yeah. But no, there's like people in there too. It's great.
I didn't even notice the people in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so good. It almost takes like the Dragon Age like bleeding in style to the next level, and like really uses the colorization very well. And Dying Light, it's pretty strong for just the name matched with the image is so good.
What's crazy here, I'm like zooming in and looking at. You maybe never even noticed this, but on the darker side, on the left, there you can actually see buildings and stuff like you can on the right on the with the light. The buildings actually extend from the
Yeah.
lit portion to the dark portion.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw the buildings, but like actually thinking about it, it's like, oh, it's like this. It's the same. It's close to the same setting or similar to it at the very least. I don't know if it's maybe just the same
Yeah,
landscape
it
or
might
what,
it might
but
literally be the same landscape, and you just
yeah,
made it so seamless there.
very cool.
But let us not forget, Lego Harry Potter years 5 through 7. Uh, it's so, dare I say, dynamic with some
dare
depth to
dare you
boot.
say? Yeah.
Well, it has good color usage.
Mm-hmm.
I like the sky. Sky holds a lot of weight for me.
Yeah. That's it. It's true. That is a true sky moment right there.
Colors. Very nice, yeah. Like the reds and orange colorization, also like blended in the background of like the Harry Potter logo itself. It's interesting.
The snake plays a big portion in this because it's an element that's like in the absolute foreground, and then it kind of takes your eye back behind several layers, which is
Mm-hmm.
really good use of foreground background.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Hard to make a Lego cover super exciting, and I think this is probably one of the better ones I've seen.
Yeah. It's though it did baffle. This is still baffle us that this is like supposed to be Nagini, right? Like
I
what?
think so.
And this is years
that
5
snake
through
is
7. It
black.
doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
Unless it's
Nagini
just
is
a
also
random
like
snake.
a black snake, and it's just like a big green snake, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
But we got a little like we got Hermione there, like winding up with the wand. We got Ron with his little character moment. It's like every Lego Harry Potter box art we saw, or a lot of the Harry Potter box arts in general had Ron doing something goofy, like something goofy's happening to him. And
Yeah.
she's got what's her name? He's got what's her name?
Lavender Brown.
Lavender Brown.
Yeah. Yeah. Leave it to me to know all the Harry Potter stuff. So
And Voldemort.
Dementors in the back.
Yeah.
Bellatrix behind Voldemort. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, like
Yeah, it's a very strong cover for a Harry Potter themed episode for sure. I could see why that won.
yeah.
But compared to Dying Light, I don't think it holds a candle up to it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I do like the. It is very hard to compare these just because they're so. One's a little family friendly game and the other's Dying Light.
But it's hard for any like licensed games in general, especially of like Harry Potter and franchises like that. It's hard for them to really compare to a box art battle or a box art like this because it's like a lot more limited in what they can do. They're not gonna like we're never gonna have a Harry Potter box art with such a bold art style as like Dying Light. It's gonna play it pretty.
It's
safe.
only gonna be pretty safe. You're either gonna have like characters straight out of the movie on it, or yeah, I mean they'll all be like pretty much based on the Especially later on, they'll have the actors and stuff on them.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it to you this way: like if you even if you're a huge Harry Potter fan, which of these box arts would you much prefer to have as a poster on your wall?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't want the Lego one, I'll tell you that.
I love Lego Harry Potter years 5 through 7.
I just love that game. Shout out to Hogwarts Castle burning in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, that does blend in very well with the sky, though. It does a good job of sort of making all that kind of come together.
I also like what they did with the logo. I don't know if they did this in other Lego games, but like that sort of sunlit effect, almost like the sun is kind of like shining behind it.
Yeah, a little like sunbursting or a little bit kind of the
helps draw your attention to the title because there's so many other things that your eye is drawn to besides the title. But just I'm just looking at Dying Light. The contrast between the dying white type on top of the black and the black on top of the white, like it's just such a well composed cover.
Yeah.
And you're right, it does stand on its own. Like you could literally have this as a poster with like having no connection to the game, and it'd still be like, wow, that's a sick poster.
Yeah, it's very, and I think I actually like the fact that like it is alluding to game mechanics here in just that good night, good luck. It's like once it turns night, the game gets way harder. Or I don't actually know. I don't actually know too much about the game. I'm assuming it gets like super hard at night.
I just played a little bit of Dying Light 2, and yes, it gets well, it's an interesting dynamic because in the second game, at least, nighttime certain areas indoors are a lot easier than during the day. Okay. Yeah, so Good Night, Good Luck though does like. I mean, if we're judging this just based on the cover, I think it's nice that they have that little bit of contrast of the orange there with that subtitle to kind of like off balance the orange that they got on the right.
It's like, yeah, I mean, I think it is always worth kind of making a note that if they are going to be making a nod to like the game itself or how it plays, I think that's definitely in its favor a lot of the time. I mean, with Lego Harry Potter, you kind of know what you're going to get. It's a Lego game, so you know this game is selling like it's Harry Potter, the Lego game. There's all your favorite characters in Lego form, and Lavender Brown also.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Lego Harry Potter doesn't have to be ambitious because it's not trying to create like get people pulled into it. It's like you're either there for it or you're not. Dying Light, it's like I might have had no interest in this game. Like I kind of did actually had no interest in this game until I saw the box art, and then I was like, wow, okay, maybe it's worth looking into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I vote for Dying Light boldly.
Yeah, I'm also gonna make the vote for Dying Light.
Dying Light.
And I know by process of elimination what we have coming, and we got a doozy on our hands for match number 4.
Do have a doozy.
It's Blood Rain versus Keith Courage in Alpha Zones. Who could forget these two?
It's a doozy, all right. It's our first 2 right here.
Yeah, that's true.
Blood Rain was just me and Zach.
Was Blood Rain was the original box art that we did? Was it the PlayStation 2 version, or was it the?
I'm pretty sure it was the PS2 version. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious if it morphed into a new version or not.
Yeah, because we both played the GameCube version, but
I just so happen to have sitting next to me for no reason.
Yeah, wow, right on hand.
All right.
Yeah. So this is actually a really special copy for me because this is still sealed.
Oh wow!
GameCube version. The reason why this is still sealed is because my grandpa actually gave this to me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's one of the only, like, he didn't didn't used to typically give me games, so he gave me this one Christmas, and I just thought it was like, damn, of all games for your grandfather to give you, it's like, what was he trying to say here? You know? He used to love Tomb Raider. Why I never opened it up to play it, I couldn't tell you exactly, but you know, after a while of not opening it, I'm like, man, I would actually just prefer to keep it.
Leave it sealed. Yeah, I would leave it sealed.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, I think that's kind of a special memory. So
and because you can leave it sealed.
You can leave it sealed. Well, we didn't. So we did a review. So full disclosure, we did a sort of review of this game. We just did like a kind of a first impressions that we called a review. I think we both gave it a 5 out of 10.
Like,
I want to give this more time though, as I feel because there were parts of this game. There were parts of this game that I genuinely really liked. So it was like my kind of jank.
Something
I really liked
about the hypersexualized moaning noises, like when she's sucking blood.
That was
a lot.
That was a lot to take in.
Yeah. I played it for the first time on PC a couple years ago, and it was, it was definitely something. It was a fun, janky action game, that's for sure. It's a fun streaming game.
Yeah, I'm sure chat was having a good
any game that makes my viewers turn down their volume so people aren't like peeking in their bedrooms like, what are you up to? I mean, that's something.
Yeah. All right. So we haven't commented on the box art itself yet.
Yeah. But it's but yeah, I mean, it's there she is.
There she is.
That's Rain.
Got blood
And,
blood on the lip.
I've never actually been the biggest fan of this box art. I've never been the biggest fan of box arts that are just like a super zoomed in picture
Mm.
of like that sort of early CG looking kind of character. Now, obviously, there's other elements to this. Especially, I love the logo.
Yeah, the logo is.
I'm a big fan of the logo and like how it's got some symmetry going on with the box art. Yeah, there's some symmetry going on, but I don't know. I've just always kind of had a bias against games that just super zoom into just a character on the cover. I always
Yeah.
feel like I'd like to see a little bit more beyond that. But in the case of this, I guess it kind of
More of the
speaks a bit
character.
more to the game itself than others because you can see there's blood, you can see she's a vampire. I like the fact that you can see the fangs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
The
tell it's
blood-
going to be a violent game.
Blood coming down her jaw there,
Mhm.
dribbling down her chin. So you're gonna be sucking some
I
blood.
mean, let's be real here. They knew exactly what they were doing with this cover.
They knew.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, they definitely
Yeah.
definitely knew because everything in the box really does direct you down to the midriff region.
The logo, like that dagger on
Yeah,
the logo, is like, look here.
Yeah, check it out.
The bar was so low. The bar was so low at that time. Like that's all it took. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta get
Yeah.
this game. All right.
Well, it was our favorite box art of our box art battles number one. So, I guess it worked on us.
Isn't it interesting
We
how the
both
Blood
bought the
Rain,
game.
the Blood Rain, the whole title itself is kind of like weirdly torn in to the box art. Like there's a
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
burn or
A
tear
little bit off
through,
center.
and it's yeah
Yeah.
off, and like the bottom left corner under the B, I don't really like what's going on there. It's kind of bothering me. How it's off, like the tear itself.
Yeah, that
It's kind of
is
extends.
weird.
I think they just wanted to align the logo in a specific way with the rest of the
Yeah.
box.
I mean,
With
they
some
could
certain
have even done
aspects
that
that they
better,
had.
though. They could have even done that better. It's weird.
Yeah.
Even if that's
Wow.
what they wanted.
Well, let's tear our eyes away for a little bit. I know it's hard, but we got Keith Courage and Alpha Zones as well to look at.
This is such a kick-ass box art to me. It's like I still feel like it's a vinyl cover. It's like a record, an album cover kind of style.
One thing I never liked about this cover is I feel like the background is very muddy and dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. It
I
does
feel
feel like
it could have been a little more vivid.
it needs like another the shade of blue on the sky maybe just could have been a little bit hot.
Not
brighter.
only that for me, but like the other characters and stuff. I get why they did it, right? They want Keith Courage to stand out on the cover and not be like lost in the rest of the art.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the rest of those characters are very dark.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah,
that's true.
but it is pretty great. I do love it's very 80s comic. Like it is really
Mhm.
leaning into that style. And yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
mean,
kind of love that.
I have no complaints with the typography. You know, it's like it's out simple and clean. The Blood Rain, whereas the Blood Rain one, there's like a lot I can critique about it. That's like they could have fine tuned.
I almost wish that probably wouldn't have worked. I was thinking maybe they make the TurboGrafx logo like transparent, so you're not covering up old Keith. But to be honest, they actually
probably had certain rules that
Yeah,
they probably had to obey.
They probably had to. But I actually thinking about it, it's like with the art about as good as you can get in terms of the placement. You're not covering up anything too important. Just I guess just his bulging his bulging midriff
Yeah.
is covered up and but yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree. I think it is a little the colors feel muddy, and I don't know if that's just no. It because I was thinking maybe that's just the kind of capture the sort of scan we have here, but it's clear it's
No.
not because Keith himself is very bright. Yeah.
Well, just imagine it for a moment. If everything was bright, he would definitely get lost in the action. So it's
Yeah.
understandable why they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it. The only thing I've always been drawn to as a criticism is like his right hand on that sword. Always seems a little
Mhm.
off to me, like from the where it's actually positioned. I don't know if that's just me.
If seeing
I'm
as
having
we-
a hard time figuring out what's going on the right side of the box with that like green arm, and then there's like a robot guy underneath there, and then some guy with a devil head. Like, what is going on that right side of
Oh,
the
I didn't
screen?
even. Yeah, oh my gosh!
I
yeah,
never
I
even
didn't
thought
actually
about
even-
it. I always just thought, oh, it's a
Yeah.
guy with like a big cloak, and then I never even looked further
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, it's like maybe that's like is that like a pauldron or something on one of his?
I don't know.
That's like coming up like that or something.
And then on the left side of the box, you got some like random guns sticking out from the corner, and like someone's knuckles. I mean, it's definitely they didn't think too much about the background art in this.
Yeah.
It feels
But-
like the background art was bigger, and then they had to like cut it down to fit the box.
Yeah, that might have been the case. Well, you do get the idea. It's an action game. You're gonna be fighting a bunch of monsters and robots. I guess that's fun. But yeah, I don't know.
I feel like if I was in the stores and saw Keith Courage on the shelf, I could tell that it would kind of be a game I'd like because I like those kind of like creature designs and stuff.
Mm.
And seeing the glowing sword in his hand, that would kind of give me like almost Star Wars vibes in a way.
Yeah, it's cool.
the
It's
powered
cool
up
to me.
sword.
Like I've gotten more appreciation for it actually. Even since we did the episode, I think it's just a cool box art. And for me,
Mm.
it's better. It's definitely better than Blood Rain to me. I'm gonna vote for Keith Courage. Lock it in.
Okay.
I just feel like it's a little claustrophobic. Now that I look at like the side characters and stuff, it just feels too zoomed in. It feels like they needed to scale it back just a little. You could say the same about both of these boxes.
Yeah, I was gonna say Blood
Yeah.
Rain
Keith
looking
Courage
at you
feels
doesn't make you feel claustrophobic.
She's like, whoa,
Whoa.
milady,
He makes me feel
you're-
comforted and welcomed. Yeah, Keith Courage is kind of like it's really the background that's kind of killing it for me. Very, very cluttered.
Yeah, because like you get, it's very, like I said, sort of very comic-y. So you get kind of like this, just like generic mountains in the background, but yeah, the cluttered monsters and everything coming in.
No,
and-
this man is surrounded. He is claustrophobic. He's
Surrounded.
surrounded, but he
I guess he
he
is.
is like about to be triumphant. And meanwhile, this like planet is coming hurling in from behind. It's
Yeah,
a
that's-
lot going
that's
on.
kind of a-
He's got a lot going
it's
on,
Meteor.
but he's got the courage to do it.
Meteor from Final Fantasy VII is just showing up right now. That's
Mhm.
what's happening. This is there it is. That's where the inspiration came from. Was from the box art of Keith Courage in Alpha Zones.
I mean, to me,
Now, this might trigger some people too, though. But there's one thing on the right of Keith Courage that just keeps drawing my attention, and it shouldn't be. Is that Devil Monster's eye is bright white when nothing else in the background is that's stark in contrast.
Huh. That's interesting.
It's almost like they forgot to apply the filter.
Yeah,
Yep,
maybe.
it's just an,
Is it
yeah.
getting-
Or like an element of the image has been deleted.
Once you see it, you can't see it.
Yeah,
You
no,
can't unsee it.
it is really, it's brighter than anything on Keith Courage, I feel like, too, almost.
It's true, but
Even his pants.
of course, they were very. It was all meaningful. He's got bright white eyes in the game.
Okay,
all
I mean, you
according to
might,
plan.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever played Keith Courage, so I wouldn't know.
No,
But
I bet it's a puzzle game. Actually, it's like a makes no sense.
yeah, that's. And Blood Rain is a visual. No, Blood Rain's a visual novel. It's a
Dating
Blood
sim.
Rain. It's a date. Yeah, there she is.
That would be actually
There you go.
better than what we got. Alec, you can't
Maybe
tell
in
me. You can't tell
certain
me
ways.
you're gonna vote for Blood Rain over Keith Courage and Alpha Zones. I don't.
I
So
mean-
I'm gonna put my vote in for Blood Rain just because that cover it's memorable. I've never forgotten it.
Yeah, it's true.
You
it's
always
true.
keep one by your
Yeah.
your bedside.
Yeah, you
Yep.
don't.
It's always within reach when I need it.
Where's Keith Courage
Re-
at? I don't see it.
Where's Keith Courage? Keith Courage isn't by my side in moments of need. It's true.
Alex, surely.
Okay, so on in Blood Rain's favor, I'm not voting for it.
Yeah.
Yet. In his favor, I do like. This is clearly, it's an early kind of CG model. Not like super early, but it's it's like early 2000s. And I think they a decent job with like skin texture for the time. Like on her face in particular, where you can kind of see some details on the skin. I think that's pretty good. And also like stitching on parts of her clothing. We don't need to go into too much detail, but it's a pretty nice model for the time. I do give it that. I feel like, again, both of these desperately need to be pulled back a little bit. But yeah, I can't really in good conscience vote against Keith Courage. Despite the fact that I think Blood Rain does sell exactly exactly what you're getting from this game. And it does that very well. But I would say the same, probably. Again, I haven't played Keith Courage, but I would say it's selling this sort of like action power fantasy, very like
an action platformer kind of game.
Yeah. So it's definitely selling that idea too, pretty well. And yeah, I just like the hand drawn art. The comic art is just really. I like it when they go that extra mile for stuff like that. So. Yeah, I'm voting for Keith Courage as well. But Blood Rain, you will always be very memorable, for sure.
All right, so that brings us to
kind of hard to forget.
Semifinals here. We've got Splatoon 2 versus Red Dead Redemption. Can we let Splatoon 2 go once and for all, or it'll be the thorn in our side? I mean, first of all,
the only thing for me, the only thing that would be carrying Splatoon 2 at this point is just the colors.
I mean, it's got more layers to it almost. With the framing and whatnot. But yeah, the colors are the main thing driving it. And I do still want to give it up for the Splatoon 2 logo, though. I still do really like the 2 and how it becomes a squid.
Yeah, it's like the paint, or the ink rather, stuff is sort of like trailing off, and that's where
that's like the exact kind of movement you get from it too. It evokes that feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Both, you know what you're getting into. You're gonna be a squid and or a kid, and then in this one, you're gonna be a cowboy on a horse, sometimes with a gun,
and also getting some redemption, maybe old school redemption.
I mean, they're both eye-catching in their own way because of the way they use colors and like the boldness of it.
Yeah.
Selling to different audiences for sure. But yeah, both very effective.
I was going to say, let's just say that you know nothing about Splatoon. Let's say you don't know that it's sort of like a third-person shooting game. If you look at the cover for Splatoon 2, without that knowledge, I'd be like, what are they actually doing? Right? Like, she's holding something. It's kind of hard to see what she's holding. It's just, it may actually be a tad too busy on the cover for Splatoon 2.
You're just inking up everything in sight.
Yeah, because you got like the splats of everything. You're like, oh, the Splatoon. So they're splatting something, I guess. I don't know what that is. Look at the
characters, right? What are the characters doing?
Yeah, she's holding like the like dual pistol, but you can't really tell exactly what is happening.
What's the guy in the background doing?
Yeah, he's got like a paint roller, but he's also holding it weird.
He's going.
I can't even tell.
Yeah, so that's like a paint roller, but it's very difficult to tell. And also, he's also, why is he holding it like that? Like he's holding it like almost at the kind of like base of it, which is like weird.
Like, because there's only so much room they have, and they had to have him hold it that way so they could actually fit it in frame.
Yeah. But I mean, the main girl is sliding in akimbo style, dual wielding these things. Yeah, I don't know.
It does take you a moment to realize that she's even holding guns. At least it does for me.
Yeah, if you just sort of look at it, it is very like.
I don't know if I were to see this on the shelf, I don't know if I would have much faith in it. That's true. I don't know if I would think this was a good game, or if I'm just like, oh, this is probably like a a casual, kid
This is a
game.
Nickelodeon game.
Yeah.
Splatoon. Got GAC people. It does sort of have that kind of like look
It's
to it.
hard. I mean, I do think the Splatoon font and everything is pretty cool and unique, and it's got like a little speckled S. It's like
Oh yeah,
got a
the
condition,
like spots on it.
and then you got the
He's got the
I's and the
condition.
O's. So there's some niceness to it.
I will say to me these are both pretty like iconic, like in terms of the general logos. I feel like they're pretty neck and neck on that. Red Dead obviously has a little longer history, just because it came out earlier. But hey, there's been more Splatoon games now at this point than there's been Red Dead games. So we don't count Red Dead Revolver.
I do.
You don't count that.
I do. In that box
Okay.
art.
Okay.
Even better.
That's actually that is actually a pretty. I like that.
He's
one.
crazy.
He is wearing a cowboy hat in that one. He's like, yeah. He's doing the.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Completely different.
Fanning the hammer.
Thing.
Very different vibe for that.
But yeah, Red Dead. It's like there's not much you can delve into with Red Dead. There's not many more elements to it that we haven't broken down. But I do still like how you can definitely emphasize the art style of it, especially towards the bottom. You can see more of like the cell shaded sort of aspect to it.
It's got a cool belt buckle by the Rockstar logo. A big old belt buckle there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
We didn't mention it, so I was just throwing that out there.
There's also the Rockstar logo. It's there.
Yep.
Well, something else too at the bottom of the box, you see how it's all they had the, I don't know what like you would call it, but compositionally the bottom of the box is like a black line almost, and then you can see how the shading in his body takes that same black color and like weaves it up through his character design.
Oh yeah.
Those are the kind of things that I notice about the Red Dead cover, that they really had a good use of color with the stark reds, the stark blacks. I mean, even just looking at the logo where it has presents in red, that ties together both halves of the red in the background through the logo.
Yeah, definitely. This is tough again because these are both really good. Some of our best.
At the same time, Splatoon 2 does those same things with their color. One thing that I look at Splatoon 2's cover, and I know that they were super aware of this, is if you look at that sort of like bright neon, almost mustardy yellow green, that there's not too much of it in the box. But if you look right to the right of the Switch logo, you see that little splotch of that green I'm talking about. They put that up there because they realize, like, hey, that color isn't being used too much, and we need a way to tie it into the top of the box. So they're just like, all right, put a little splat up there, kind of keep it cohesive.
Yeah.
They did the same kind of thing with the purple as well. The sort of like darker purple on the Splatoon logo. That's right under the Switch logo. There's like a little bit of that in sort of the roller handle, and there's a little bit of that on her, like one of her little hair pom-pom things, whatever you want to call them.
I mean, if nothing else, it definitely gets across the point that the kind of how the game feels when you're playing it. It's like you're just inking everything in sight, ink all over the place. You even have those splotches are as if there was like ink on the box art itself, and then like everything going on in the background. So
yeah, you even have tropical. I wasn't even paying attention to this. You do have like, you get like it's a tropical kind of setting too. Wow, it's sunny, and you get the bright sun, but you also have palm trees back there. I didn't even notice
There's a lot going on in that background though when you zoom in real close. There's a lot of little logos. Like, is that necessarily a good thing, right? Like, is less more sometimes? Like, there is a lot going on in the background of, or just this box for Splatoon 2.
Yeah,
right. It's a bunch of different things going on. It's almost like skate park vibes, while also like some studio lights going on. Like there's a lot going on.
It's like a concert stage, and they all are wearing like fake branded logos and stuff. There's like this stark text with like a copyright sort of thing, like in-universe branding, which Splatoon has a lot of really strong elements of. But
I'm gonna lock in my answer.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to Splatoon 2, just because I feel like their use of color and movement through that color is just so expertly done.
Yeah.
The only thing that bugs me though, and once you see this at me, well, maybe it's actually part of the plan. If you look at her shoes, they're like a sky blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that made like, and then the sky's blue. I mean, come on. I mean, it
Wait,
is kind of, it does kind of,
That's a
it
crazy
stands out a
theory.
ton. If you just look at her shoes, it does stand out a ton compared to all the other colors. But then you realize that the sky is blue, and it's like, wow, did they actually make her shoes that sky blue to not have the sky stand out
Maybe.
too much?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just their crazy thought with color here.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
I do think compositionally, it is a bit busy, but the colors are just so well done.
Yeah. It's tough because I think it is busy versus simpler, and the simpler is really solid. It's just a solid foundation.
But the history of
to
box art
run
battles
on.
would tell you that simple loses every time for us. I think it's almost always lost the fight. Like ultimately, like we might want to, we just start losing things to hold on to like root for the simple thing. It's like, oh, but there's still that flag in the background.
There's still that flag.
There are
It's
horses.
saying the
It's hard.
deterioration of the American West.
It's hard, but we have to maybe take a step back and just be like,
Yeah.
this is on the shelf, Red Dead Redemption. Whoa, that pops.
I think another thing that like seals the deal for me too is that when you realize that they do stuff like, okay, look at the logo. The
Yeah.
squid is pointing off to the left of the box, and then you look at the same pink squid that's on the box and it's pointing off to the left. It's like just little details like that, where they don't want it to be too repetitive, where it's like, okay, we have to have the squid polar opposite, right? So it like creates a contrast between where your eye is looking.
Yeah.
It's a really
Yeah,
good, but I may not be
it
the
is.
biggest fan of the series, but that box is darn good.
Yeah. That you get the text reading going boom this way. Get stuff up above going this way. You have something in the background coming down this way. Everything's pointing different. It is chaotic, which is kind of in its favor, ultimately.
Look, but it's almost ironic that with so much color on this box art, it almost stands out less than Red Dead Redemption, which is just one solid color with the character there. I feel like that would pop more off the shelves than Splatoon 2 almost.
It definitely pops more with Red Dead, yes.
But
Okay.
but I'm not confident either way. I think I do really agree with the composition of Splatoon 2 being great. And it's funny because I didn't vote for Red Dead Redemption the first time, but I might vote for this time. Something about that man. He's got a chokehold on
John
me.
Marston. He said.
Look, I'm gonna vote for Red Dead Redemption, and I'll leave it in your hands.
Okay, you'll leave it in my hands. Okay. Okay.
I can rest easy with that.
Okay, logos great. Composition really good. The logos are appropriately sized, I think, for the style of the kind of idea they're trying to get across. Very busy, but like that again, that sort of adds to the whimsy. Simple but effective.
Horses.
I think I'm gonna give it to Splatoon 2. To me,
Can't keep
it's
getting away with this.
Well, it just is. It is getting away with this, and it's just all that in a bag of chips.
All right, sure.
It's just really it just has that extra little something special. I think to me it is just extremely solid art design, and I don't just mean like the character designs. I mean like just the art design of the world, like the skate park, the concert stuff. It's like they didn't have any of that stuff in the background, I actually don't think it would work as well as it does. So
Well, just like that, Splatoon 2, you're going to the finals. I'll see you in
Yep.
the finals once again. Next
All
up,
right.
we got Dying Light versus Keith Courage and Alpha Zones.
Gonna be real, it's not very hard for me to pick this.
Surely there's something here that makes Keith Courage better than Dying Light, right? Look, we talked about this before. It's interesting. We brought it up as a positive this time. It was very much a negative. Well, it was like a jokey thing last time. The good night, good luck. So it was like a funny like catchphrase. The way it was just like there's no punctuation. It's just like good night, good luck. It always stood out to me because it's like there's a tagline, but
yeah, the game has its own tagline. It's interesting.
It does, like, the color does kind of help it.
Yeah.
It's just striking.
You can tell they did it on purpose with that color too, because why not just make it white, like the rest of the font on that side of the on the dark side?
Yeah.
They're definitely making it like a sunset orange on purpose.
Yeah. Well, then you'd also confuse consumers who, like me, who like to poke fun at like when like businesses like do this thing where they're like putting text in like different places.
Yeah.
And then it was like there's like one of my favorites is Healthy Burgers, and it's HEALTHY is the line below, and then burgers is the next one. So it looks like it says heal thy burgers.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would look like dying good night, good luck light is what you're saying.
Yeah, which is which is like
it's like the old The Walking Dead thing from the show, the don't dead open inside. Like if you read it across.
Don't dead open inside.
Something else about the Dying Light cover that we haven't brought up yet either is how Splatoon kind of does this, but Dying Light I think does it even more to a more extreme degree, is how it takes the font and like literally incorporates the same brushstroke style into the font itself to tie it into the background. Like if you look at the Y and the N in dying, and you see how that mirror, like you see what they did there. Not a lot of games do that. Not a lot. Usually the logo is like, okay, let's just copy and paste it right on top. Dying Light actually finds a way to blend the logo into the game box and still have it stand out.
Yeah, I really like the it's almost like charcoal of the zombies profile there. I really like that a lot. Like the sort of smudges. It was actually in elementary and high school when I had to do art. I did like art. I just wasn't ever super skilled at it. But charcoals were always some of my favorite stuff to do in general. Like getting that nice smudge. It was like there was always something that was really appealing to me about this, and this sort of has that element of it where it's like the sort of smudgy kind of smoky look to a lot of that part.
From what I can tell, I think they achieved this effect with acrylic paint. It looks it looks like what they probably did was they primed the canvas with black, so they're actually painting white on top of a black canvas, and then what they do is they take the painters, I forget the terminology. It's like Bob Ross always used to use it to mix paint essentially. So they take like that scalpel kind of like painters whatchamacallit, and they would scrape that to achieve these like line streaks. I think that's how this effect was achieved. So it's actually it looks like charcoal, but I think it's acrylic paint, like wet on wet almost, or wet on dry.
Definitely could be. It's also worth noting, I don't think we mentioned it before, this one was also the winner of a themed box art battles when we did a horror edition. Forgot about that.
Yeah. This beat out The Last of Us somehow.
Was that?
I could see that.
Was that the finals?
I don't think that was the finals. I think this did go up against The Last of Us at one point. But
I would have voted for this over The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like The Last of Us box art a lot, but yeah, this is just great.
I think it's one of the best horror covers for any horror game.
So yeah, I mean, so Do we want to
pretty
talk
easy.
about
I
Keith
mean,
Courage?
yeah.
Is Keith
Keith
Courage
Courage.
here?
I mean,
I don't know.
again, I
Keith
love.
Courage, if it was up against other TurboGrafx games, I think it would do fine. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the best
It
of
is.
its kind, right? It's like
It's the best.
best of what it's doing.
Well, hey, we had to. Zach, I know, or I remember in this box art battles, Cole and I were keeping freaking Madden 15 or whatever alive for the
Yeah, it
longest
was like
time.
almost
To your
let Mad
chagrin.
NFL 15 win this box art battle. I don't know what it
But
ultimately
Keith
faced off
Courage,
against in the end.
I don't remember either, but
But I just think it's such a personally just a really cool box art, just like the whole vibe of it. So do you
yeah,
wanna...
I like the vibe as well. I think I like that sort of comic kind of style. It's like there's a little bit of like, especially in like the robot design, there's definitely some like anime 80s anime sort of design in the in kind of the robot mech design theirs, but
But ultimately, I'm morally obligated to vote for Dying Light.
morally obligated, I think. Yes. Yeah, there's you can't go wrong, I don't think, with that. So
All right, and it's the
Yeah.
grand finals that we all knew would be coming for the season finale. It's Splatoon 2 versus Dying Light. Yeah.
Couldn't be more polar opposite.
yeah, really.
I mean, not to give it up immediately, but I'm not. Splatoon 2 has got to be cut short at some point here. I mean, I think it's made it as far as it can go.
I mean, it literally has. It's in the final, the final match here. It's funny because it's like, yeah, they can't be more polar opposite, both in like tone and also in like chaos and like extremely effective use of negative space with Dying Light. Like the white space is like, I think it's pretty perfect how it does it.
Mhm.
Like having to appreciate the sort of because what they could have done, they didn't have to do this, but what they could have done, they didn't necessarily need that sort of like streaking on that down to add more whites into that area. But what that does is that then adds the added details of the hands coming up and the bodies falling down. So you've got like all of that effect on this side, whereas like I think lesser box arts would have just had it like be like kind of just black all the way up, kind of this darker shade, and then have the sort of light on the other side, where they made the decision to do this, and it's just adding all this extra detail in it that just really makes it pop.
One of the benefits too is you can take the name of the game quite literally, like Dying Light, and then
Yeah.
you can apply that to the box art and see that they are like killing. The light is dying on the cover, so it works thematically, compositionally. Like just you can feel the title of this game in the cover, and that's something that you don't typically see in game covers.
Yeah.
Now, you can argue for Splatoon 2 that it also works because Splat, there's paint splatter. Toon, it's very cartoony, but I think it's a lot easier to take it literally for Dying Light
Yeah.
when it comes to the naming of it.
Do you think the Dying Light box art would be better or worse if it was not a PS4 box and if it was able to be on like a PC box like the Dragon Age Origins one?
So I had like the extra white.
Yeah, do you think it would be... Do you think the PS4 actually helps like having that blue there, or just all white would have been cooler?
I usually don't judge cover arts too much based on that, to be honest.
Yeah.
In some instances, it does work with other consoles, like with 3DO, like the box of D. Sometimes having that like super extended, elongated box can help with design. Like Primal Rage was always a good example to me because on the cover you got one of the fighters like doing an uppercut. So when you have that really elongated box with like no logo cutting it off on top, that does work. But usually these boxes are designed with like consoles in mind. I think the PC design of the box is usually the last thing on their mind, and if it
Yeah.
happens to look better, then so be it.
Yeah, well, because I think we ruffled into this. Might have been in the episode you were on where we had Mortal Kombat 2. We had the Super Nintendo version, and and that gives off, just color scheme wise, that just gives off a very different vibe than the Sega Genesis version of it. Like even just thinking about that, of course the Genesis with the sort of upright, and the Super Nintendo with the sort of landscape sort of
It would be
boxes.
interesting when you guys do a season 2 of this to actually just take like the same game across all console versions and compare it. Like Doom, for example, has a ton of different covers across consoles.
Yeah.
That might be something we might want to do.
The Oops
I
All
mean,
Doom edition.
Oops All Doom. that would actually be fun to
Yeah.
to maybe do. Doom's a pretty. It's been on everything, so you might as well do it.
So Splatoon 2 is a really solid box art. It's composed really well. It's super colorful. Everything's done with purpose and intention. It's beautiful. But Dying Light is one of the best video game box arts I think I've ever seen. It's like Splatoon 2 is a really solid box art, but Dying Light's one of the best. I mean, without question, for me, I'm voting for Dying Light.
Yeah, because not only is it a good game box art, but it's also just like a good piece of artwork in general. That even if you take the game portion away from it, it looks like something that someone would just put on their wall.
Yeah. No, I could see this in a college dorm easily. Something like that. Yeah.
So can we put...
I vote would go to Dying Light.
Yes, let's put the Splatoon to rest.
Yeah, Splatoon, I really good run. I mean, I think echoing everything everyone said, I think I like the depth a lot. I think the background really does help the image pop quite a lot. But yeah, I mean, like Dying Light is really, pat on the back to whatever team, whoever did the art, the team behind that. I mean, they really do deserve all the praise that we've been giving them, and then some.
Yeah.
I think, it's great. I do love it.
So there you have it. Very happily
feels worthy of being a winner. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
for sure.
Very happily crowned Dying Light is the winner of Box Art Battles Season 1, the best of, I believe, 128 different box arts we've gone through.
That's a lot. That's a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So many more
over
games.
The course of 5 years now. Did we do the first one in 2019? Actually,
I think it might have been. I think because it was like in our ideas of like stuff to do when we were first starting the channel. It was like that would be a really fun thing to do.
Yep.
And then it was just me and you in that first episode. But we're gonna continue this tradition of having guests on, and we want to have new guests on. We'll have a whole slate of people. We'll try to get some returning favorites back into there too. We got to give Rusty a little bit more due than just having him on for Shrek.
Yeah, I mean,
he was a good sport though, and he had a great time. So we love Rusty. We have him on for everything. So
I think it'll be a fun format because once the season's over, it's like the floodgates are open. You can have new guests, old guests, anything goes. And then we'll do it again. We'll do it all again.
Yeah.
And then once we've done 64
really
episodes, we can do all winners of all the season finales of Box Art Battles. It's like, all right. Yeah. I mean, you would usually end the episode by saying, are any of these box arts, would they make you want to get the game? And then in my case,
Blood Rain we did buy the game for that. So
in my case, I
think most people did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually own most of the games here. I don't own Keith Courage, Dying Light, or Lego Harry Potter. But I believe I own the other ones. My brother has Lego Harry Potter, but of course, Dying Light is one of. It's been on my radar since the first time we did it. So,
I'll consider. I just played Dying Light 2, so I would say knowing how good the sequel is, seeing the cover of Dying Light 1 does kind of get me excited to check out the original game.
And good night.
I mean, I'm. Good night. Good luck. Yeah, I think I made the comment as what was that? That was the sign off of I don't remember who it was, some news anchor in the 30s or whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, Dying Light. I think I said it last time. I don't think I never went and picked it up. But talking about this again does make me be yeah, I should feel like picking that up and giving it a shot, because I feel like I have talked to friends of mine and they've all kind of said pretty positive stuff about it. So yeah, and that box art really did its work, I guess. Sold me on a game.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, I bought Shrek and Blood Rain because of our box art battles, but all right, well, there you have it. Season 1 in the books. Don't you go check out PeteDorr, of course. I'm sure you know already. PeteDorr on Twitch and YouTube. I don't know, were you active on YouTube at the time? Were you in the middle of a break when we did that or not?
The last one was probably in the middle of like some kind of hiatus, but yeah, a bit more active on there.
So I've
today,
been loving the
like these
new
days.
YouTube stuff. I'm watching every upload.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think
Appreciate it.
I think we both can say that it's like, well, first of all, we loved the fact that you shouted out the forum. As we said at the beginning, yeah, Zach and I we wouldn't even know each other without the forum. So like none of this would have happened. So it's like
It's a
like,
shame that traditional forums are kind of like a thing of the past. There's not many
Yeah.
left these days.
It really is, honestly. It's just one of those things of the past, I guess. But yeah, having you come back to YouTube, not like necessarily that you left, but having you making more videos and stuff has always been really enjoyable. Mystery unboxings are always a delight for me in particular. I love those. So the one you brought back was a lot of fun. But
Yeah, a dying genre of YouTube video, that's for sure. It's always fun to bring back like videos from 10, 15 years ago that kind of make people nostalgic.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well,
But anyway, yeah, thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
thank you. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, feel free to check out the channel, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. If you ever leave a comment, we'll always respond to it in the next episode of the Tarqaron podcast. All right. Alec, do you have a video you would recommend our viewers watch next from our channel?
Put me on the spot, Zach. Well, you've seen all the winners of Boxer Battle, so I can't recommend one of those. Why don't you go check out Zach and I's first impressions video on Blood Rain?
Oh yeah, old.
That's an oldie. That's an oldie there. I was still living at my parents' house at that point. It's my old background there. So.
Yep, and we
it must make for an interesting discussion talking about Blood Rain for the first time.
Yeah, we said we would play more of it, and I did not.
I don't think we either of us did. Yeah,
I did not.
It's interesting because since then there was a remaster that came out, and
random.
I could have swore that Laura Bailey, who was the voice actress that played Blood Rain, I could have swore that like there was a period of time where she was like, I'm embarrassed by that. Like it was a weird role. I had to make these weird moaning sounds. But no, she was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like that they're bringing these back. Like I love playing Blood Rain. I'm like, oh, great. I'm glad she's embracing the jank. You know, it's like you might as well be proud of the work you did because she did a good job.
Maybe with some time, maybe it's better to look back on than in the moment. Like I can't imagine the direction. Like you're in the booth recording. It's like no, we need more sexual. We need way more sexual.
Yeah, way more.
You're enjoying it. You're really enjoying it.
Crank that up to 11, please.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for watching. Check that out. All right. Until next time. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.